They expect me to live on this salary. I've cut down to only 2 liters of boba for breakfast. Ugh.
Sorry about that. Why am I here again? Right. How to be a VTuber 101. Let's do this.
Teka lang, nag-stream ako! I'm Honey! Good morning, motherfuckers! Don't look back, okay? What? Have confidence! No confidence! ユリが私の手の中にShut the fuck up! You shut the fuck up! I'm the fucking tired, not you, Ariel!
You're probably already firm in your decision, but I'd like you to consider why you want to be a VTuber. Because I think that if the reason for you to become a VTuber is just because it's trending, you'll always be focused on the numbers, clout, and exposure you'll get. But when VTubers are no longer the trend, what will you do? Will you just...
I'm die. Thank you, whoever.
So I think if you really want to be a VTuber, do it for the right reasons. Do it because you think that this is something you'll love.
いきますよ
Not because it gets the most views. If you still decided that VTubing is the thing for you, congrats! You're on your first step to VTubing stardom. But one big disclaimer, I'ma say this outright. You might not succeed. A grim idea, but a totally possible one. I say this because you aren't entitled to success. No matter what you do, you cannot directly change the outcome of anything. Just like in an exam, you cannot directly change your score on a test, but you can influence your chances to get a high score by how much you study, or lack thereof. Similar to VTubing, you cannot determine whether you get a substantial following or not. All that you can do is work hard and create stuff you're proud of. And remember, even if you do your best, there still is a chance that it just might not work. I, too, am scared that this might happen to me. That all I ever did will result in nothing. That at some point, I'll see those numbers dwindle. Maybe the universe and its mysterious ways just have a different plan for us. But after some time and thought, I realized that's totally okay. I'll work hard and enjoy what I do, so I can make things I'm truly proud of. The time I put into all of my work will not be in vain. There are lessons to be learned, new skills to acquire, and friends to be made. Whatever the universe and whatever gods up there may have planned, I promise it will eventually come to you if you open yourself to it. Change what you can change and do your very best. If you're still here, let's go to step 2. Enough of that sappy shit. Hooray! Congrats! You did the first step. That's amazing. So, after you survived that harrowing image that step 1 Minarly has shown you, let's start with step 2. Setting your goals. Do you want to be a Pokimane?
Doo-doo fart, doo-doo poo-poo, doo-doo fart.
Or a Kirksgesagt?
Are you God? Yes.
Or a Jake Paul?
Yeah, I'm talking about you begging for attention, talking shit on Twitter too, but you still hit my phone last night.
Or a stick fight animator? Or a Hirohei, who makes terrible lazy takes on VTubers? Or do you just want to mess around? Knowing what specific goal you want to follow is important because it shapes the actions you must take to achieve it. There is no one-size-fits-all formula or step-by-step process. This goes for developing any skill in life, just like learning a language. Many people think that native fluency is the only ultimate goal of language learning, but some people have different goals. Some want to just say I love you or a bunch of curse words.
ファッキンもつけてもいいですし。
ファッキンファニー。
はい。
Some just want to talk to the locals in a casual manner.
So are you like planning to kill yourself or something?
What the fuck?
And some want to be the modern Shakespeare of their era.
I heard we together ever.
Each goal has a different approach to achieve it. The first can be achieved by just Googling it. The second can be done by enrolling into basic language lessons. The third, by reading lots and lots of literature and learning useless deep words that no one really uses that much anymore. If one of these approaches were used for a different goal, you'd either lack the necessary skills or overachieve. Same thing applies to what you want to be as a VTuber. If you just want to have a cute anime character and mess around with your friends on Twitter posting shitposts 24/7, that's totally valid. But if your goal is to establish a dedicated following around your content and grow your brand, tweeting daily about how much you love Boba Booba will not get you any closer to your goal. In summary, set a clear goal and do what you can to get yourself closer to that goal. Understand?
理解する。
Hiedoya? Naintindihan mo ba? Perfect. On to step 3. The creation process for me is the main process of content making, where the idea gets formed and then crafted slowly to make a masterpiece. For me, there are 3 main components to this process: creativity, content, and motivation. First, let's tackle creativity. This is very subjective. There's no right or wrong way to be creative. For me though, I think everyone in their own right is creative to some degree. And to those who say that they are not creative, I view people who say that as someone who has not allowed their mind to be creative. You know how most of people's great ideas come in the shower? This is such a common phenomenon that the whole trend and subreddit is created around this very idea. I believe this happens because your mind is free to roam in that endless realm of your thoughts, where this domino effect happens, where this wonderful branching tree of ideas is formed from a single thought. But normal everyday life prevents this from happening, since it demands 110% of our attention every waking second. Each day you have work to do, whether it be jobs or schoolwork. On top of that, you have personal responsibilities and chores that you have to do to survive. And when those are all said and done, we spend the rest of our time engrossed in social media and entertainment. As a form of escape from the brutal agony of the mundaneness of modern life. This leaves no room for our brain to be free to create those domino effects aside from the shower. With a clear understanding of how our creativity is stifled, we can understand the ways to unlock creativity even if you think you never possessed any in the first place. One way that I recommend doing is sitting facing a wall for 1 hour. Yes, 1 hour. Seems absolutely crazy, right? But allowing yourself to let your mind rest from the constant pressures of life and wander in that empty vastness can make you and your brain realize new things and thoughts about you, the people around you, your environment, the world you live in, and all the complicated intricacies tying them together. And I know that people might vehemently oppose the idea of letting their mind wander, because it gives space for the depressive demons to come forth. But as Dr. K from Healthy Gamer explains,
sit and stare at a wall for an hour with no distractions. And it is devastatingly difficult. But really cool stuff will happen. Very, very cool stuff will happen if you guys just sit at a wall for an hour. And then your mind is going to do all kinds of stuff. It's going to be like absolutely crazy for about 20 or 25 minutes. And then it's going to be like really awesome. Like the second half, if you guys can make it, like is going to be amazing because your mind is going to like come up with stuff and it's going to be like weird and entertaining. sometimes what'll happen is like a lot of negativity will come up. You'll start to like realize how bad of a person you are and like how much of a failure you are and stuff like that. And everyone's like, how do I learn acceptance? Like, how do I learn to sit with it? That's the way that you learn how to sit with it, right? Just sit and look at a wall for an hour. Just do nothing.
This, in my opinion, is how you foster creativity. Now that you got your creative juices flowing in your noggin, let's focus on what content you will produce. First, you might think of stuff you like, game, and another thing you like, funny. Next step, combine them together. Congrats! You contributed another funny gaming moments video to the like millions of others who do the same thing as you. Why would someone watch your video compared to this? Or 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 this? The answer is, they probably won't. So how do you stand out in this oversaturated market? Gap. Find the gap. Find a unique and compelling idea that fuses stuff you're passionate about but has never been done before. The most memorable people I am subscribed to are the ones with the wackiest and most interesting ideas. Smooth is Good combines the hyper editing of gaming.exe videos with the memeability of K-pop in one disgusting but intriguing concoction. Dreg with his commentary and showcasing of political extremism, where his million-level irony and satire makes you question whether he's being genuine or not.
Hi, I'm Totalitarian Right. I'm the voice of the people. If the people are white, don't mean to get up in your face, but we're getting replaced. Culture war now, let's win this race.
Or the classy Lemino, who makes high-quality documentary-style videos that drop anything that Nat Geo and History Channel could ever make combined.
Of all the species to have ever lived, all but a tiny fraction have gone extinct. At some point in the future, the same fate will befall humanity. It may take centuries, it might take eons, but extinction is unavoidable. The future is fraught with uncertainty, and the apocalypse never seems too far away.
Creating very unique ideas can carry you through most of the early game in your online careers, since there is no one else to watch this specific kind of content aside from your channel. And I understand that creating a super unique concept that no one has ever done is incredibly difficult. But the main lesson to take away is to differentiate yourself from the crowd with a compelling selling point that answers the question, why should people watch me over person X? Now, you know what to make, but you have a hard time getting started. Remember in step 1 where I said that you should not do it for the clout? I want to emphasize this again because the reason you do something affects your motivation. This can be classified into two major types, intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. In a nutshell, intrinsic motivation is motivation stemming from an inherent genuine interest in the activity itself. One example is motivation to compose music, since you just like creating beautiful sounds for people to enjoy. Extrinsic motivation is the opposite, where the motivation is fueled by external factors, like the motivation to work a 9-to-5 job to sustain yourself. These can be broken down into more specific parts as shown in this chart. It's gonna get a little technical, but I'ma compress this into a neat little info package just for you, so bear with me. The left side is basically complete lack of motivation, which hopefully you don't fall under. The middle is on extrinsic motivation broken down into 4 types. First is called external regulation, which is basically like being forced to do it by law. It is unhealthy motivation since your action is being controlled by an authoritative rule. Second is called introjection, which I like to call ego motivation. It is motivation driven by the ego, like doing a certain job for its status and reputation, or doing something to get famous at the peeps. Third is called identification, wherein you see the value of an activity in your life but are not inherently interested in it. Just like how school helps you get a stable job and income in the future, even though you do not like schoolwork. It is a healthier form of motivation because the actions you do will benefit you down the line. Fourth is called integrated regulation, which is similar to identification but more internalized and integrated with one's values. One great example is someone who is quitting alcohol. On top of seeing the long-term benefit with being sober, the reason they do it is based on their newfound principle, becoming a better parent for the child, even though the process of getting sober is a decision he previously would have never considered. This is the most autonomous and healthiest form of extrinsic motivation because the actions follow your own values and goals. Lastly, on the right is intrinsic motivation, where like I said previously, you just love the activity. You got all that? Because I want you to think about what kind of motivation drives you towards VTubing. I personally think that these three on the right are the healthiest and the target motivation you need, since it stems from improvement and genuine interest, while those on the left I highly discourage because those are motivated by controlling external factors. But this isn't a fits-all model. In fact, the topic is still highly debated in science until this day. You might work well in controlling a non-autonomous environment. Either way, I want you to realize what kind of motivation you have and understand it on the deeper level to help you recognize the reason behind the crests and troughs of your motivation wave, or to help you change it to something much healthier. Now, you're all fired up with motivation, just like Aaron. But you haven't started or can't get back to working again. You have an idea, you know what to make, you feel motivated, but you can't get started. You wait for that flint and steel to light up your portal and give the responsibility to the future you. But listen carefully. There is no future you. There's only you right here, right now. This means that the only time to get a thing done is right now.
There's no such thing as a first step. There's only a step. There's only the step that you can take. That's not a philosophy. That is an actual reality. Right now, we are in the present. And where are we now? In the present. Where are we now? In the present. Where are we now? In the present. This is the only thing that there is. Your mind plays all kinds of tricks with you once you incorporate the future. Because once the future is a possibility, you're fucked. Like once the future is a possibility, then you can do something in the future. The future is the problem. He can move out one day. He's going to do it one day. He's going to exercise one day. One day, one day, one day, one day, one day. No, he can't exercise one day. The only time he can exercise is now. Literally, you cannot exercise except for right now.
Realizing that the future you does not exist at all signals to you that you only have one choice on when to do it, which is right now. Mind-blowing, right? So great, you got started, but you still get distracted from that new message notification from Discord or that week-old ramen that you forgot to eat. There are all these distractions from everywhere, and especially during quarantine, the lines between the spaces and where you work, sleep, and relax are becoming very muddled. One tip for this is to sanitize or section off a workspace just for a specific activity. CGB Gray, who made a great video on this, advises:
1, 2, 3, work doesn't work. So just like sleep, keep this station especially hygienic, clear of everything except what to focus on, crossing the border only to create, not to consume. Do not watch NetMe2 Plus here, you have a place for that. If you're too tempted, get up and leave, that's okay. It's better to be honest and keep the borders strict. Don't even consume food during creation. Go when you need that break, return when you're ready. Like with sleep, this doesn't happen instantly, so allow yourself to be a bit bored at the start before slipping into it.
This technique has significantly improved my focus in doing what I need to do, since the space I work in is tailored specifically to remove everything that is non-conducive to the activity. Congrats! You have mastered the creation process and know how to effectively create masterpieces. But again, for the millionth time, there's still one problem. At times, you have this highest of highs in terms of creativity and passion, and stooping lows devoid of any drive to do anything. Sadly to say, YouTube, and online platforms for that matter, is not fond of inconsistency. There are hundreds of instances where I've looked at a channel with a very inconsistent upload schedule performing poorly even though their content is a banger. I'm not devaluing them if their only focus is to put out good content for the internet. In fact, that's what I really want to do too. But I've noticed one major factor that big and prospering channels have and failing channels don't. Consistency. It doesn't have to be a strict vid per week or monthly basis, but consistent enough to have a regular stream of content that helps your audience roughly know when your video comes out. And the YouTube algorithm just loves consistent output, as we can see from big channels like PewDiePie, kids channels, and most gaming channels who have stayed relevant for years or blown up in just one. This is actually the reason why animation, one of my most favorite types of videos, has such a hard time flourishing on YouTube. I personally hate that this is the driving force for success on online platforms like YouTube. I really do believe the phrase quality over quantity, but honestly, it is what it is. You have to play by the book to succeed. So, take this into consideration when trying to grow anywhere online, because once you dip out for a bit, everyone will forget you. Whew, that was a journey, even for me. But let's take a moment to review and recap what we've talked about. First, determining whether this is the path you want to take. Second, set clear goals to guide you on what to do. Third, the creation process and its three main parts. Fostering creativity by letting your mind wander. Finding the niche to stand out amongst the crowd. And lastly, finding and promoting motivation through reflection and a good environment to push yourself to get started and finish what you started. Hopefully, you've understood and applied all of this and have made significant progress in your work. But you feel off. You feel empty and inadequate for whatever reason, and you can't shake this feeling. I'm no professional in psychology or therapy, but the biggest motivator for me to not worry about my lack of skills and progress is one simple phrase.
조급할 필요 없어 my pace 비교 따윈 하지마 천천히 달려도 괜찮아 나의 길을 따라 my life 급한 맘 내려 now 나만 보고 달려가 You ready? Let's go!
Take your time. Just like the lyrics said, there is no real rush to get things done. I'd assume you, who are watching, that you are at least younger than the age of 40. This means that you have decades, literal decades of your life to finish what you want to do. There are people in their 60s and 70s who only just discovered the real purpose in life, and they didn't complain that they didn't start earlier. They're happy because they finally started to work towards their goal and purpose. And to be honest, it is so unfair for you to compare yourself to these young K-pop or TikTok idols who achieve fame and money at such a young age, when you both have such wildly different circumstances. Like, what does another person's success have to do with you? Nothing. Literally nothing. There is no tangible effect of their journey to yours, except your comparison to them. Your comparison brings you down based on the assumption that all human life develops in this certain way and this certain speed. But it's not. Realizing that every person's journey is unique and different can get you out of this comparing and competitive attitude and let you look forward on your own path and tread on it at your own pace. You made it! I know I've said a lot, and it takes time to let it sink in. You probably should give yourself time to think and get to know the inner machinations of your mind a little bit better. But hopefully, I've helped you gain a little bit more insight and motivation to get the ball rolling. Even if you think these do not apply to you, I hope I've shown you a different angle on this topic. Watching this vid will definitely not solve all your issues, you still have to take matters in your own hands. And hey, I'll support you all the way. Good luck. And I mean it. Good luck to your VTuber career or whatever path you decide to take. Fighting! Ganbatte!